the greatest gift that an artist can give is the gift of inspiration to another artist.
One of my first memories of you was middle school, and you came up to me, looked down at my shoes, and you're like, dude, these shoes are sick.
I remember this, and I told you they were suede, I believe.
These brown suede shoes.
Yes.
And I remember you touched the swoosh.
A brand isn't a person, it's a promise. If something isn't authentic, how do I trust it?
I'm an anxious person. My outlet for anxiety is like tics, like I have Tourette's. I want to hear just like on some homie level shit. How do you deal with it? What do you go through?
I just draw. Like, no matter how low I am, I get into it. It just allows me to like be centered.
For like a young artist, what do you think is like the number one piece of advice you would give to them?
Find something that you believe in the time that you're alive in, so it can express itself in your work. Who are you to you? And when you are a follower, you care about who you are to other people. Bingo.
Yeah.
And that's an artist.
Connor Tingley is a visionary artist and designer whose work is collected by icons like Michelle Lamy and A$AP Rocky. Blending fine art, fashion, and culture, he's collaborated with major brands like NARS, Vans, and Casamigos. One of my closest childhood friends, his journey from classroom sketches to global influence is nothing short of legendary. Proud of you, bro.
That's what I learned about luxury brands, dude, is like the best luxury brands are ones that never stop growing. And the only way that you can do that is if you see everything you do as a means to finding the real thing. Like everything's a prototype. You have to see everything as a prototype. The moment that you start to be like, oh yeah, this is the final product, like, and you can have a final product, but the moment that you say this is the final product and that's what you're running with, you're sure to, ever so slowly compromise on what can make something great. That's why some of the best products are always staying innovative. You should have 2 pillows, bro. You should have just whatever. It's a vibe. The size of what?
The pillow should be like...
Do 2 pillows that are that size. Or 2 that are half that size. Or 1. You can do 1. Whatever. You figure it out later.
Yeah, I want to make this poppin', you know?
Honestly, you want to know what you should fucking do?
Huh.
Lean into the pillows. And every guest that you have on, you do their names screen printed or just heat pressed onto the pillow. So it's basically like welcome to that person. It's a welcome.
Bro, that's the most brilliant thing I've heard.
It's cool because you can show the empty chair first, and then they have them sit down, and then they have something that they can take with them.
It's so dope. Can you just sit with me after this, or just like one day and just tell me what else I need to do?
We can just make this podcast about this. Let's go through it. Let's build a brand live, real time. Okay, so brands to me are, a lot of people can try and define it, but it's like a promise. And it's a promise to a core value or an idea.
Yeah.
So my
continue, I'm listening.
My relationship to so my relationship to a brand is, I just want to find, what are they promising? And what should I trust? What promise am I trusting in? That's it. And that's why authenticity is one of the most important things, because if something isn't authentic, then how does it have the ability to be true to itself? And if it's not true to itself, then how do I trust it?
Bro,
so that's literally what a lot of people get confused, because you're caught between being either a leader or a follower. But the true leaders are the ones that are led by their own truth, their own authenticity. That doesn't mean bolstering through life and being entirely selfish, but there is a cadence of your experience as it meets the real world. And a brand isn't a person, but it follows suit to what we're emotionally connected to, and we are very emotionally connected to other human beings, which is why we anthropomorphize the world around us, which is why we apply human traits and qualities to the world around us. Like, that's why Pixar works so well, because you have a rat that can cook, and then the charm of that spices you up and you can experience that story. But
But it's
all
more,
that, huh?
It's more than the rat though. Like you know, it's not the cooking that makes the rat special. It's like the story behind the rat and how it ended up there, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a human story essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That you're lacing with a certain kind of charm that softens your heart so you can experience that.
I guess the cooking part softens your heart. The fact that the rat can cook, it's like that's the almost the
fact that the rat has a dream, and the fact that the rat, there are stakes, and that the stakes aren't only life and death, but they are possibility and dream and what if.
Yeah.
And those are things that are very suitable for your first recognition of your autonomy in the world. That's why it tickles that inner 13, 12, 11-year-old, because you're starting to become conscious that you can do something in this world. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stories are, I would say, one of the most powerful stories is like that hero's journey. Mm-hmm. That's what's so striking, is because, look, plain and simple, I think story is one of the most important things. And everything that we do, whether it's a brand, whether we are, even our personality calls back to what is our story. And in every story, to me, is revolving around like one thing. Mm-hmm. There's a central theme. There's a central, perhaps conflict, something that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, always.
Whether it doesn't even matter if it's a flat arc or a story is built to be a lesson that endures, so somebody else can experience it, and perhaps that will confirm or make something that's universal within all of people that lives within us as well individually. Mm-hmm. It confirms their reality. They go, oh, I can do that too. Or, you know what? That's how I feel about that. Mm-hmm. And, art making is a personal way to explore that for yourself. But then I think of like design, and I think of companies and businesses and directing a film or building a podcast or writing a book as a version of being able to experience that as well. So, it's just when it enters brand, it becomes so experiential, and that's very fun for someone like me, and the reason why is because like growing up on, obviously we grew up together being interested in the world around us. Yeah. And it's because we're observers, and we're observers of the things that are striking to us. Mm-hmm. So when I was young and I first saw these Pixar movies, I realized this doesn't just apply to film.
Yeah.
There's so many other life experiences out there and industries that are telling stories too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of my first memories, bro, of you was middle school, and you came up to me. Do you remember this or no? Where I'm going with this?
Well, there's a few stories, but
this was like not even a big story. It just was like one of the first times I ever interacted with you. You don't remember this?
Maybe in class. Was it in class?
We were passing. It was in between class. It was probably like the first week of school or second week of school. It was in between class, and I remember you had your backpack, your big backpack, and your books. And all of a sudden, you like put your backpack down and you put your books down, and you just looked down at my shoes. And I had these Nike.
I remember this, and I told you they were suede, I believe.
These brown suede shoes.
Yes.
And I remember you touched the swoosh, and you're like, dude, these shoes are sick. I didn't even know you.
Well, I'm curious about how that made you feel, if you remember. How did that make you feel?
Amazing, bro.
Really?
I felt so validated, because you have to understand, I came from before I wore those cool Nikes, I was wearing these shitty old tennis shoes before tennis shoes were cool.
Yeah.
You know how now it's like cool to wear New Balances or whatever?
Yeah. Like athletic wear is cool, but then it was more about, it was like street, but also you loved sports and basketball. So there was like that sort of like
intersection
teetering line in between where you couldn't, Obviously, you couldn't go full runner kid.
No, but here's a
But
problem.
basketball was cool.
Yeah, basketball
So
was
you
cool.
had that though.
But here's the thing was that I was forced to also kind of wear those shoes because I had really fucked up feet, like super, super flat feet.
Yeah, I remember that.
So my doctors would always be like, you got to wear these shoes. I was like, oh, I hate these shoes.
And your parents are like, all right, wear the shoes.
Yeah. So I'd put these big plastic insoles.
That's not cool.
Bro, I put the... It's so hard because I grew up as such an obedient kid. So
Me
whatever
too.
yeah, right, bro. You know, whatever my parents said and whatever the doctors said, I was like, and dude, my doctor was kind of fucked up because he was a gnarly doctor. My podiatrist, my foot doctor was like Kobe Bryant's doctor. He was like a dope, like athletic doctor. So he had like pictures of athletes on his wall. So he drilled into my head that he was like this awesome doctor. But as a result, I was so obedient to him because I was like, oh my God, if this guy worked on Kobe's feet, then I got to listen to him.
Do you see how that's a brand? How that's a story though too? Just like he had his own little promise that he was working on.
He did, exactly. But
and it got you.
But it
full Edward Bernays you.
Straight up. But the thing that was so crazy was like he made me feel like if I didn't wear my orthotics in my shoes, I would break my legs.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and he would say like he would look at me
and to
like,
make his dollar too.
He'd say, yeah, exactly. So you're not wearing
these? Did you have orthopedics in those shoes that I saw at that time?
I think so. It's like a kid wearing his retainer every night.
Yeah.
I was that kid
Yeah.
who put the orthotics in my shoes every single day, no matter where I went. And sometimes it hurt, dude.
So you know how you talked about the shoe that was like super geeky?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I had this sort of ultimate deflection of anything that was cool when I was younger. Even, I would wear shorts.
Yeah. It was a deflection.
And I actually had some weird OCD around wearing pants, and I was like, I'm not free because I felt like claustrophobic when I wore pants.
Yeah, you always wore shorts. I remember.
And I wore running shoes, and I didn't. But it was like this first version of being a hipster to me. Yeah. Like, because I wasn't clueless to it. I knew what trend was. I knew it was cool.
Yeah.
But I knew that, like, my brother, he would wear the cool skate shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw him doing that. And because I lived with him, I was able to recognize, like, why he was doing that. And it was because he was insecure. And I realized that the worst thing in the world for me was to be insecure and then buckle to it and then show the world. Because my own worldview was like, hey, if I can see somebody's insecurities, then other people are going to be able to see mine. So I was like, fuck that. I don't want anybody to see my insecurities. Because I know how lame I think my brother is. It was just, dude, like, think about that. And I was like, fuck it. It's big backpacks, short shorts, and running shoes. But not in a way where I was like, it was more just like, oh, these are the clothes that my parents want to dress me in. Like, this is where I'm at in life. I'm not out in the world making my own decisions yet.
Yes.
And, also, to be honest with you, I don't think it was that much of an overthought. Because in retrospect, I can articulate it that way for fun. But I really felt that way. It was more that just like, at the time, I was so stressed out about school. I don't know if you remember me in school.
Remember,
but
dude.
We were good students.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a good tester. I wasn't as good at, I think you were stronger at school than me.
You were
Willie
a good student,
was,
though.
huh?
You cared a lot.
I cared really a lot, dude. It was like, if I failed.
Yeah.
No, hang on. There was no failing ever. I felt like if I got a B,
yeah,
then that meant that I wasn't going to be successful.
Yeah.
And like, that's a genuine fear. Like, I remember hearing about STDs. I remember hearing about STDs. I was fucking scared. No, I remember hearing about the SATs.
Oh my God, even worse than
and it
STDs,
was the
bro.
scariest shit. I was like, I swear it was like the fucking bar. And I knew that they said, I don't know where this came from, but it was so overwhelming and I took it so seriously, and it was like, make sure you have your meal before you go. And I was like, yes, I'm going to have the apple. And it's just scary, dude. Did you have those creepy feelings around testing?
Test taking was horrible. I really was not a good test taker either, bro.
Where did your fear come from within it?
Failure.
failed. But what was that like? Because for me, it was like, I'm not going to get into a good college and this, and I'm gonna not make my parents happy. And
that's part of it. You know what the other part of it was? I didn't want to end up like those fuck ups in school.
I know.
And I think that's also...
The fuck ups are the ultimate psyop, dude. They were just like, I do not want to do that, so I have to work hard.
Yeah, bro. That was the thing. And I think that's kind of why I think you also rejected that cool culture, because all the cool kids who were wearing those cool brands were kind of like the fucked up kids. You get what I'm saying?
No, totally.
The ones who were...
Because their parents let them like have whatever they wanted, and if that was so, then that meant that they probably didn't have much discipline. Like, it's crazy because like these are the laurels, these are like the foundations of just the agitations of somebody at a young age who goes, I am going to defy things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that if you dress trendy than when you were younger, that, I mean, look, there's just different aspects of somebody's character that pays attention to certain things. Like, you know, we all excel at different ways. And I think being younger, I felt like I had an urgency within me that was yet to be unearthed. Yeah. And that I wanted to discover. And I felt like I was already scratching at my purpose.
Yeah.
So everybody has that moment within them. In the moment that we let that light run out, there's a very dangerous thing we do to our perception of our reality, is that your reality isn't yours. If we don't choose to take that seriously and try to actualize it in some way. And this dangerous thing today about the world is there is a virtue that's being put out into the world of like, here is what success is, or this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, I just wanted to follow this gut instinct within me. I want it to be, you know, and I know that everybody has that within them, but the younger and the more impressionable, you know, the younger that people get, this impression of technology is very influential in people's perceptions of like, what does it mean to grow up and do what you love? And I mean, I think that's where I honestly get so much of my privilege was I was able to see a lot of success, what success looked like when I was younger.
Who'd you see that was successful at that age?
Just like people that my dad was working with. Like my dad wasn't successful, but when you're in LA, it's kind of like when you mentioned the Kobe Bryant, like the doctor that worked for, you're in proximity to it. Yeah. So what you're seeing on TV, you're not a kid from Wisconsin, you're living in the city where a lot of these famous moments are centric to. So it's almost like you're living in the Truman Show set.
Yeah.
Where
my favorite movie, by the way.
It is?
It's my favorite movie. Because of
what a great story.
It's literally what you're saying is like literally what we were living in. We're literally in the Truman Show. That's why I think it's so good.
But, you know, 10% of people, you know, let's just say 10% of people are leaders. They're willing to listen to their own gut and move along with it. And you live in Los Angeles and you can, you have a lot of great examples around you, but you also have a lot of dangerous examples around you. So it's about being connected to like why you're doing this as well. And I feel like in anything in life, the most important thing to establish is like a sense of character.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're subject to the wind and the wind of the trend, the wind of how people talk. You know, you can play with your identity in a way that could lead your life in a really wrong way.
It's funny you say that because I'm thinking about the identities that we created for ourselves, you know, when we were that age. We really created our identities as art kids, kind of smart, like, because I remember you had your sketchbook and you were always drawing. And
so listen, what you say is so poignant because I was just with a friend of mine yesterday and I talked about a true artist.
Yeah.
Like, is somebody who is willing to admit that another artist, that they're able to see another artist and be like, that person is better than me. Like, and it's not better with craft necessarily. It has nothing to do with craft. It has to do with like honesty and being genuine and being authentic. And having a certain amount of rigor for your own life experience.
Yeah.
And I remember Dustin and Anthony?
Yeah.
So these were these skater kids that were just
so dope.
art kids, and their parents let them run around, but they were also interested in philosophy and like real vagabonds that weren't, using their time incorrectly. They were inquisitive, but also like rat street kids and skate.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a performance artwork from them where they were like throwing up on the side of the street, and they filmed it. And it made me feel a certain kind of way, and it was so effective. And I was like, these kids are making art. They're not overthinking it. They're just expressing themselves. So even though I as a kid, I'm life drawing from 10 and a half years old, getting that real classical Italian Florentine style drawing and painting experience, pretty obscure for a kid in Southern California.
For sure, bro.
Wanted to go work at Pixar. I'm like, I could gladly be like, I'm an artist, but I feel like I was just a craftsman that was trying to find my language, and whereas I see these kids who were like street kids, and they already had it down.
They had it, yeah. It's intuitive to them.
So what we were doing, I think, was, for me, I think what you and I were doing and our group of friends was, it was just sort of finding solace in each other's abilities.
Bro, I was gonna say, I'm so thankful I know you and you were my friend at that time. Because if we weren't friends at that time, I don't think I would have even had the confidence to keep doing art, creating art. It's almost like you helped, because you gotta think about everybody around, like at least in my circle, right? Art is seen as taboo. It's a hobby. It's not a career, And so when I like having you and like the small circle of friends we had, dude. It's everything.
Well,
it's everything.
It takes infrastructure too. And I think infrastructure when you're young is a group of friends that can confirm that within each other.
Yeah.
You're a filmmaker. This guy's a painter. This guy's a coder, whatever. It's all giving each other a sense of freedom. But I think art making and being able to do this kind of creative headspace, and it's the highest form of luxury.
Yeah, it is.
But it's like it's almost like the most logical version of the highest form of luxury. I heard someone say recently, and it kind of struck a bell. But, I think that when you're choosing to make art and take this path, you almost need structure in order to balance it out. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, it takes those friendships and to help you guys create courage. Mm-hmm. And, just like a artist has a manager. It is that trying to find that 50-50 balance. You can't just be alone in it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
But we find all those solutions, and our habits as well. Like I carry a sketchbook with me at all times. Like this is confirming to me all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? This is like a complete helicopter pad for ideas, a landing pad, if you will.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro.
But
you've been doing that since you were a kid too. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, bro.
I tell so many people I tell them all the time how important this is to me, and
that's amazing, bro.
Yeah, it's changed over the years. It's gone from mostly drawings to a lot of mostly scribbling and writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I try to fill up. I don't try. It just kind of happens, but it's like either 15 to 20 sketchbooks a year. Mm-hmm. What I have to try to do is to buy more.
Why do you think?
When I have them, they're just like, filling them up.
But why do you think it's transitioned from drawing to writing more?
It's gotten far more conceptual, and doing a drawing could be as simple as a shape where you're pointing out certain colors or what a little object or form means or something like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's all about efficiency, honestly. Just getting the idea down as quickly as you can, as clairvoyant as you can. And so you could almost move on to the next thought.
Yeah.
I see artists like, when you talk about artists, an artist is I think a little artist is somebody who begins by observing smells and tastes and, the way the fog sort of creeps over the mountain, or the way that your breath fogs up the glass on a car on a rainy day as your mom's driving you home, or the homeless person that has a boil growing on their cheek. What is that? You know, the way that maybe like the bathroom smelled after your dad left it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But it's all information.
Yeah, it's all information.
Right? So you think about, I mean, to me, this is like metaphysical engineering or whatever. This is like metaphysics. With all that input, the artist is somebody who now a sense of urgency wells up within them. Over time, more input, the observer, and courageous to continue to keep observing. So within that build up, there needs to be some kind of output. The levee's going to break at one point.
Of course.
And then that is expression. But there's an amalgamation of all of these senses, all these observation that you've gotten. And you yourself are a reflection of that. And there is a certain shape that your character takes, a certain light that you're refracting when you're, you know, within your expression that is, you know, you can't be it all. Your experience is just but a piece of like perception. So the individual unique reality that we've experienced individually is like so amazing, because that's why our expression has the ability to be unique, which is why when you stay true to yourself and authentic, you recognize that you're changing in life, and that your work is going to incur the same changes to reflect that which you've been through. And that's why, like, I really appreciate when you see somebody has a language, and you can see typically when it's true to them. And when you can see that, you see that this is an artist. This is somebody who is willing to go backwards into the mystery, if you will, and explore life, and then recognize what's true to them, and not need somebody else to confirm it. Not need, you know, some kid to be like, oh yeah, like you are cool because you're wearing that. It's like, no, I did just feel what I just felt right there.
And it's independent of what other people think.
And you know, what I'm talking about is like the shape of becoming a freaking artist. The shape of it's, to me, just like everybody's observing things, but I think that to be an artist, it's simply courage. That's simply what it comes down to. And I have the courage as an artist to recognize when somebody else is an artist, and when that is before me, I'm like, you're the best artist.
That's amazing. That's a true artist, man.
You're so amazing. Like, I was sitting with my friend last night, and he was talking to me so beautifully about, he was illustrating how our minds and the things that we experience start to sort of like essentially program us, program our character before we have the ability to realize consciously like why we act the way that we do. Because a lot of this stuff is loaded into our subconscious. And he was saying like, you spend a lot of the rest of your life trying to understand that, like that inner youthful core character traits that you have.
He's absolutely right.
It's like beautiful. And
it is
you know,
beautiful.
He's my friend Kentucky boy Tyler,
and
he's now starting, shout out completely, he's starting to make his own artwork. And I mean, so we were actually talking about his childhood, and yesterday he told me that his grandmother used to drive him around. He lived with his grandma, and one thing he said was that he used to be afraid of fire hydrants. I mean, sorry, he used to think fire hydrants were the cutest. No, sorry, scratch that. He felt bad for fire hydrants.
What?
Yes. And he's like, was there anything that you felt bad for? And I'm like, blankets and stuff. Like, I felt like it was like I had a weird, and he was telling me that his grandma and him would go around and decorate the fire hydrants to make them feel like company, because he said he felt like the fire hydrants were separate from the trees, so they felt alone. And he was like willing to like see that reality as true to him. Very interesting, right?
That's kind of beautiful in a way.
So beautiful. And then he was like saying that his grandma used to drop him off to this, like they would drive to the cemetery, and whenever he'd see a headstone, he had like He would hug it and take photos with it. This is him at like 7 or 8 years old.
That's insane, bro.
So he's telling me this, and I'm like, dude, those are like early performance artworks. Like they document Picasso's early drawings when he's a kid, still attributed to him. But why can't we look at early works of ours, early true forms of expression as like these early works?
Yeah.
Because I think everybody is an artist, and my goal is to confirm that within everybody that I sit with.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
And like I just have so much to say, that's why I'm talking so much right now, because I'm in this train of thought. But like I really, just like you're telling me how I was an inspiration to you, you were an inspiration to me. You know, the greatest gift that an artist could give is the gift of inspiration to another artist.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You make a very interesting point. You're saying everybody's an artist, and I agree with that. But do you think the people who are less expressive or channel...
Less observant people.
Is it less observant, or can you be equally observant, but you hold yourself back from expressing it? You get what I'm saying? You might have it in you to be very observant.
Oh, you said less expressive. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought you meant not experiencing...
Because like we're all experiencing the same life, and a lot of people are very observant, maybe equally to us. Like you said, observing the boil on the guy's face or the certain smells. But do you think the ones who are labeled as the creative geniuses, the artists, are they the ones who are just actually going out and making the art, or do you think it's like a different personality trait? Like my point is, if everybody's an artist, why isn't everybody making art? You get what I'm saying?
Because that's what I told you earlier. The derivative is courage.
Courage.
Like but art making is courage.
So we're all just holding ourselves back to a degree.
I'm telling you, it's about courage.
Yeah.
It's about permission. It's about acceptance. It's about vulnerability. I mean, mind you, the semantic of courage, I'm just kind of listing other words that are centric to that feeling.
Yeah.
But it's that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's confirmation. It's confidence.
Yeah.
How are you going to make your own work if you don't have confidence or you're afraid? Like every time I begin work, I'm afraid. I'm terrified.
Yeah, bro.
Terrified.
Oh my gosh. Can I read you a quote that I have? Remember that book?
It's the kind of fear where you want to delay it. It's like I'm at the edge of a cliff. You know, go for it. Art and Fear? Art and Fear is a very good book.
It's still my screensaver.
What does it say? What's that one say?
It says, artists don't get down to work until the pain of working is exceeded by the pain of not working.
It's everything we just talked about. Observation. Like the fear of not getting these things out that you've experienced is when you turn into an artist.
Mm-hmm.
An artist is somebody who goes... An artist is just a state of being. It's not that, like, that's why I feel uncomfortable calling myself an artist.
I see
because,
what you're saying.
You know, it's sort of like labeling this identity as the entirety of who I am when in reality, for me, it's just a state of being.
Right.
And the state of being is the courage to express my, myself, and like here's this observation I've had, here's this feeling I had, facing these fears.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not in that state at all times.
Yeah.
I'm in it quite often, but what happens when I'm sitting on the beach in Mexico having a beer?
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
I'm just like enjoying myself.
You're just
I don't
human,
know. Yeah, there's no fear there.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, like
you're just a human being. Bro.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I have a bit of strife with in the time that we're alive in, is that we just can't see past all of these identities.
Yeah, dude, you're right.
It's too identity based.
I hate it.
I mean, it's identity based in a way where the people that are saying that they're progressive are actually willing to contain all that they are, which is a free human being, into singular identities.
Mm-hmm.
That's a complete antithesis of what I know about being
progressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, artists are progressive. What did I just tell you about what I feel like an artist is? An artist is somebody who's just willing to express themselves.
Yeah.
But when we go through life, we incur change. That change is inevitably that's going to have to come out on the surface, It's going to have, your work will change, your expression will change. You know, the way that you dress, you're comfortable to change.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that everybody always expresses themselves, you know, visually. Sometimes it could be, you know, your vocabulary, or it could be the food that you choose that you want to eat now, or you might not want to stop watching television and read books. And yeah, I mean, wow, we're alive. Like we're sort of like these computers that want to learn information. We want to learn more.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not changing, then you're not growing. And I think like artists are people that are just ambitiously, they want to grow as well.
Yeah.
And that's where it's all of that.
Their growth is tied to their expression in a way. And that's a beautiful thing.
That's a great way to put it. You just said there. Their growth is tied to their expression.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better, man. Wow.
But what do you
tied that up?
Thank you. What do you think now of a person who, like you said, we're all artists, but it takes courage. How can somebody get that courage or that confidence to do what they're potentially destined to do? You know, where does that come from?
Where does it come from? I think confidence is tied to, you know, confirming your world around you.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about gaslighting. No, that didn't happen. It's like, no, that's what happened. Like, you know, I think that when you're confident, you're stronger.
Is confidence accepting your truth? What you're saying is like being confident is accepting the world around you. Are you saying if somebody's trying to gaslight you and you know it's not true, you just accept that the gaslighting is happening? Is that what you're trying to say, essentially?
That's why I say it sort of comes, I'd hate to bring it down to this simplistic of a binary, but it is like leaders and followers. Like, and I'm saying being a leader is also not the entirety always of somebody's character. Somebody could be a leader, you know, only at one point in time of their life. Like when you're an artist, you're a leader. You're a true leader as well.
Yeah, you are.
And I think that essentially it's just, confirming your reality. And where do you get that confidence? Well, that confidence to me comes from being also like appreciative too.
Of course.
And like grateful of the, and it could be as simple as just being appreciative that you're not going through a nightmare anymore.
Totally.
Or it could be appreciative of like a certain composition that you're seeing. You're like, wow, that's amazing. For me, it's pretty unfettered. I mean, like I have the tendency to appreciate all different forms of things, sound, the way something smells, a thought that I'm having. Like, it's all just, I'm just comfortable with all forms of appreciation, appreciating the world around me. And then from that, you know, I'm not caught up in my own thing, you know, so it just kind of, myself goes away. It's like a form of meditation in a way.
You're almost fluid to everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but there are times that you're rigid, and that's why I say those are the times where you're between your art.
I see. Is art a fluid state?
It is a fluid state. And
being rigid is when you're essentially not.
And fearful and fragmented and all of those things. But, you know, I think that's why you could call art synonymous with love and all these things. But, you know, for me, I don't ever mean to take it and let it get airy-fairy. It's actually more of trying to kind of like define the physics around creativity and why it works the way that it does. And because I'm interested in it as well. Like, I think at my core, I'm just very curious.
You're super curious. I've seen that from the beginning. The first time I hung out with you, I was like, we were talking about music, and you said, what kind of music you listen to? And I think I said Kanye West and Tiny Tempa, whatever. And then I was like, what do you listen to? And then you pulled up your playlist, and it was like your iTunes playlist, and it was all African like tribal music.
Really?
It was like like tribal drums and like tribal. Yeah, it was African. I remember I said, weird. What is this? It was cool, but at the time, I'm listening to like hip hop or whatever, and this was like so foreign to me.
I was listening to a lot of like other stuff at that time too.
You were on like a whole tribal journey, like worldly journey, but you were what, 10? No, maybe 12 or something.
My dad.
You're curious.
Very curious. My dad gave me sort of permission to listen to cool music too, and he would sing along to it. So I was like, yeah, I'll sing along to that too. And that's why I think you learn so much from a parent, you know, and definitely your dad too, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of the times for girls, you learn from your mom, but you also learn from your dad, like, you know, yeah, regardless, whatever. It's the parents are a really important thing because they are your world when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they see the world, you know, you're interpreting the way that they're reacting to it. As full-grown adults. I mean, I think instinctually, you know that they have a certain freedom that you don't.
Yeah.
And the way that you see them deal with freedom. My dad, he'd listen to music. He wouldn't dance around, but he'd sing and whistle and snap. And, you know, if there was a story to be experienced, someone walking across the street, he'd point it out. You know, he would tell us stories about, you know, Indiana Jones missions that he was on. That found out later that probably 50% of it was never. Let's be realistic. 90% of it was probably never even true. You know, he would just sort of like really sit in that same thing as well. And I think about the music that he listened to, and that's probably what some of my first stuff that I listened to: Simon and Garfunkel, Van Morrison. I remember my mom took me to a record store because it was near some vitamin shop. And I went in there before my 7th birthday, and I went in there, and I found, I think I went up to the front and I asked the guy something of like, where can I find music that I should be listening to, right? He's like old grimy record dude, whatever, God only knows. And he basically points me to the front of this like cabinet with all this classics. It's
dope.
Like, kid, don't go here, go here.
Yeah.
And my mom doesn't know about music or anything. She's a top 100er.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at a Led Zeppelin album. It just draws me in. He's not even there anymore. I pick it up, and it was a CD of like their greatest hits. I still can't find the album today. It's so weird. It was just a CD.
Damn.
It was a compilation. Took it up to the front, bought it. And I discovered Led Zeppelin like I was picking a random book off of a shelf, and it became my Harry Potter. Like, it was
unbelievable,
amazing, you know.
Unbelievable, bro. Was it because of the album cover, or what drew you in?
I don't know. Right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Symbol, art, myth, it all bleeds through into like into the things that we make. That's valuable. That has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And I was influenced by. I reached of all these options for that.
Yeah, you did.
And then the sound of the music transcended, you know, its sound and went into graphics or whatever. Even the look of these guys, I might have been like, this Robert Plant guy looks cool, or there were maybe some Zodiac looking, you know, whatever symbols on the front of it, or it doesn't matter. It was a cohesive experience that I was drawn to, that the further I went into it only confirmed my initial urge to grab it. And I was like, this is amazing stuff. So, you know, I think like even my awareness of stuff like that just like really, once you become observant of the world around you,
yeah,
and that becomes not enough, then you become also interested in observing how you think about the world and what's within you. And like, so there's a whole perspective that's being built. And I feel like I live within that. And on my best days, I freely live with it in it. And on my worst days, I'm comparing myself to other people.
Yeah. One of my earliest memories as a kid, I was actually, I don't even think it's a memory. I think my parents have told me this story so much that it feels like a memory. But anyways, I was literally like 2 years old, maybe like 1.5, 2 years old. And I noticed anytime we would drive in our car, I would notice the logos of like fast food places super far down the street. And my parents would be like, how are you, like, I would say like Taco Bell or, you know, McDonald's or whatever. I'd point these out. My parents are like, how do you even see that? It's like a mile down the street, you know? And it's interesting to see how part of the world that shaped me was this branded culture of America, corporate America, bright, colorful signs, advertising the fast food. Right. Right. You know, growing up here, I'm wondering how that shaped us. You know, how do you think it shaped you, bro? Like as an individual, like, do you think, because I bring up this story because when you said about Led Zeppelin was kind of interesting, how something drew you in the shapes, maybe the design.
Totally.
You know?
I don't think it's ever the shape that it takes.
Yeah.
It could be music. It could be logos that you're finding in the street. It could be, you know, a basketball player that you're like, I love this person. It's how far you want to take your reason for why you like that. Yeah. It matters.
Right. But as a 1-year-old, I don't know. As a 2-year-old.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, I think back on why I fell in love with like the 76 logo. Or we lived in San Pedro for a couple years, so we were going over the St. Thomas Bridge and the port, and you have all these heavily patinaed, rusted crates that have gone from China to whatever, being shipped all over the world, tanker ships. And the logos on the side of these sea trains. And I'm like, the reason why I love that so much was because you had these highly clean graphics against these like tanks that have been shipped around. Where have they been? You know, where have they, it's almost like this book that you can't open up, but it's leaving room for you to imagine. So it's like, and then the 76 logo, like I remember I played at this park that had the orange and blue metal, and I related a fun and a state of play to that color combination. And whether I saw that logo first and I played at the park, or I played at the park and then I saw that logo, it doesn't matter. I related the two, and then I became involved in like this color story, and I love the form and I love the shape, and you know, I think that like iconography in Southern California is just so powerful because like it's a sky city, right? Yeah. So you don't have high rises as much and whatnot. So everyone's vying for advertising space in the sky, and the backdrop of the sky. So I think a lot of like advertising was born here, and people like us were, you know, a generation before were susceptible to that sort of like marketing.
Totally.
But yeah.
When growing up, you have a twin brother, and you guys chose totally different paths. He's more like the blue collar worker, and you know, you have your own, you know, creative career. Where did that break off? Like, was it always like that from day one? Or?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of take it back to that perception thing, I think my brother and I had two different sort of understandings of what like our role was. You know, like, so funny. I think like dichotomy is such an important part because I just seen it. My mom's very different from my dad. My brother's very different from you know, he was darker skinned. I was lighter skinned. Yeah. It's so funny to say that, but it's like, I don't know another way to describe it.
It's crazy though, you're twins. Like that's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I know. He's a firefighter. I'm in this space. And I think that he saw like the world just a little differently than I did. And
you mentioned your dad's influence on you.
Yeah.
What do you think his influence came from to take him in that path, you know?
You want to know what so magical is? When my parents, or when I started to draw younger, I would say like, I want to be an artist or stuff. He was saying that he wanted to be a firefighter at the same age. Like,
insane.
He was 3 years old wearing a firefighter outfit, and I was 2-3 years old drawing. What is that?
What is that, bro?
That's crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Like, it's just cool that you know,
the odds are that
what
like,
is that?
The odds are that are like 0.00005%, I feel like.
You know, but if you were to ask him what he was going to be when he was older, all throughout his life, he would have said firefighter.
Yeah.
And for me, I think like the definition of what I do changes, but like I always wanted to be here.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I did want to be an astronomer for a while. I was fascinated by space, and I still am. It's,
Yeah.
you know, like probably one of the most important things to me.
Bro, we got to talk about these drones, though, by the way. Have you been seeing the drones?
Yeah.
Is it bullshit?
I haven't seen them.
Have you been seeing the videos?
Yeah, of course.
Is it bullshit?
What do you mean by that?
Is it what we want it to be, or is it what we're being told it is? Does that make sense?
Neither. I mean, I think like
I want it to be real, man.
yeah, no, it's I think the drone situation is I can't believe we live in a time where our government can just like blatantly lie to us. So
I mean, they have been, bro.
yeah, and well, I mean, I think the way you do one thing is if the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, which is like I think how a transparent, squeaky clean government or any organization or institution should run. And they're doing this way, and then like I see it as what is going on over here that we don't know about. That's even like weirder or worse, or you know.
Yeah.
I mean, think I literally bring it down to like super simple terms. A parent catches their kid with a bag of weed,
Yeah.
right? And the kid goes, "Yeah, I don't know whose that is."
Yeah.
And then the parent's like, "What are you talking about? I don't know. I think it's Cody's. No, maybe it's Shane's."
I already know where this is going.
And you're kind of like, okay, so you know, if you're over here, like, okay, all right, look. You don't know whose it is. We'll give you that. All right, okay. But what else are you? You know, I don't know. It's just like.
I see what you're saying.
I smell bullshit, essentially, but not in a way where I just don't. I'm not a truster of the government.
Yeah.
But I'm also. It's just, I don't think that the government believes in a way of life that I believe in.
Yeah.
It's literally as simple as that. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they care about like prosperity.
No.
In the same individualistic human way that we should all be stewards of in our own lives.
Yeah.
But somehow the government acts as this steward for, you know, the virtues of being a model citizen, or, you know, like, no, this is how we run things because, you know, the law is government, and like somehow politics became religion and all of these associations and identities. It's like we live in a free country, so there should be to me, like the freedoms that we should be living within are, I believe, restricted when we're not being told the truth, and when the media is constantly pumping things out to us that are about swaying our perception, then we are essentially being manipulated. But for what reasons for? It doesn't really sound like something that would exist in a free world. So I think that these definitions of freedom and things have been like long gone and lost. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think like industry and making money and commodity has gone so far down a gnarly path that we almost stopped as a nation, like representing that like character and caring for like your neighbor.
Yeah.
Like I'm going like as simple as it gets here. Like this isn't even political. This is just like character and ethics. Mm-hmm. Like what happened to just care about your neighbor? Like treat your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. Be cool, be friendly. Mm-hmm. Like
it's gone.
So this is what we do with our freedom. But I also think that like there is a bipartisan, you know, coalition mm-hmm. that I believe is a strategy to coerce the public. And, you know, I'm not saying that there's an individual group of people that are steering that, even though it would be a fun fantasy to believe. Mm-hmm. I just think that human beings have a negativity and a what we would call evil bias. And I think some people believe that they have the right to, you know, call the shots in the world. And And I do think that it's easier to react to a situation where there's a binary of left and right. And when you're in a free country, you can create that kind of division. You can't do that in a country that doesn't have our freedom, because we have the freedom to choose one or the other side. So, I look at it and I go, this is a direct response to like capitalism gone awry. That's bled into, paying people off and this and that. And eventually it becomes political. So technically politics is driven by not ethics anymore.
At its peak.
And like when I see these drones and these aliens, it's like, what plot point am I being told right now? And like, how do I look at that, see around that corner, laugh at it, not necessarily tell a friend because like we're all, in this crazy delusion and you probably won't even believe me or care about my opinion. You're just trying to sniff out what side of the spectrum am I on, my right or my left, or I just go back to my work and like keep working and try to like build a life for myself and my loved ones and like not worry about this thing that's just literally a big Netflix story that I'm being like coerced into. Now, I do think we live in a very interesting time where there's so much media going on around us that my perception of it is sort of like we're almost living in an immersive reality show.
Heck yeah, we are, bro.
And the reason why I say that is because there's all these different channels of distribution, whether it's on the phone, you see the same thing that you see on Instagram as you see on the Channel 5 News. You go over here to the radio, to the Starbucks. They're doing a collaboration that is a direct response to the events that you saw on these platforms. You drink the Starbucks, you see a Starbucks billboard, then you see a girl drinking this same drink, then you see the same girl on Instagram later. It's like the whole world became this, we're being reflected back our reality in these fragmented ways, like scenes and cuts, but we're experiencing it in these collective emotional ways or like algorithm. It's insane. And everybody's getting their own individualized experience. So the future looks like people getting their own individualized experience even more. In AI and all this stuff, of course, you want to move the field goal, the goalpost down the line. The goalpost is everybody having the most convenient version of their own reality. And personalized media, personalized content, automated personalized content, the future. Right? And then when you pair that with consumer product machine being able to, I would say, endorse turnover of products like a Temu sales really, really quickly. Now you can have people spinning up their own products that are solutions for themselves in the future. That's insane, bro. Like let's say we go like full straight to hell version of this. Full Wall-E. You want a product that you need a product. It finds you a solution. It's suggested to you. And, little scales of product are just sent to you. Like, it's just, I could see an appropriate, because I can't see it like, but there's an appropriate version of that solution. And I think convenience is often sold to us that way,
Sure, bro.
And we become disillusioned because there's no longer that struggle to observe your own reality and come to your own conclusion. And the whole bias, the most convenient thing you could do is not be a leader. You could be a follower. Being a follower is easier. So if you're just told, are you left or are you right? A lot of people are going to fall into these categories, so they don't have to work for their own opinion. And, I think like the gnarliest thing about freedom is that it's overwhelming. So if you're free to have your own opinion and thought, what's the opposite of overwhelming? It's like, just go with it. You can go this way or you can go this way. And also keep believing the media or entirely distrust the media, So I look at it from a very human perspective and I go, I'm on a planet and we are floating in space. And that's true. And we're in the stars. And the sun is this powerful, life-giving force that we rotate around. And like we orbit around this powerful thing that we barely pay attention to.
Yeah.
And we've turned it into like a brand. Soak up the sun. Tell everyone.
Yeah. It is a brand.
It's sunscreen. It's like we've Disneyified the shit. We've Disneyified the stars.
Sunscreen,
it's like
lemonade,
wake up.
snow cones,
It's fucking all
beach
real.
balls. Yeah.
You know what I mean? This like, monster brand that you got tattooed on you because it represented like the protein lifestyle, but also like broed out version of like, hey, I do construction, or it's just crazy that we assume these identities that are just like, I'm a follower, I'm a follower, I'm a follower, I'm a follower.
That's true.
It's so scary to me, bro. And that to me was when we go back to the conversation when we were kids of being afraid. I'm literally afraid of that. Yeah. I'm afraid of being a fucking follower, dude.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
It's scary.
Mm-hmm. What does our future look like if everything's super personalized and super custom and super on demand? Like, what does that do?
There's no struggle to learn your own story. So how are you going to attain what's true to you?
But how do you even develop personal taste at that point? You get what I'm saying? Well, how would an algorithm even, if you're born, okay, hold on, let me rewind. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're born in this world of everything's personalized and tailored towards you, right? So as a baby, you have a view of the world through this AI, whatever, this VR, AI, augmented reality, but then your friend or your sister or your brother, they have their own view, and then your parents have their own view. What does that do for a child if they're fed that from the very first day of their life? How do they develop a personality? And how, you get what I'm saying?
It's all about how far you see into it, man. That's why I said it's all about observation. Like, the semantic is going to change. We can't look at what's coming in the future and say, yeah, TVs are going to ruin the world, or it's the people that want to put themselves through tough experiences and not just go through life conveniently.
Yeah.
Are people that are going to be courageous, people that are more observant, people that are capable. Like, these perceptive individuals will always be around. That's why it's that 1%, that 10%, whatever number you want to call it, that has their eyes open, dude. Mm-hmm. It's literally all it is.
Yeah.
I'm giving you like the very simple version of what I feel like this is.
You're saying the leaders have their eyes open.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Even if their mommy gets product and this and that, you might have a kid who goes, all right, this is how my world is. But within that, the setting will change.
Yeah.
The semantic changes.
Yeah.
But there's still the trait of a leader. And a leader is like a flower that can grow in in a single flower growing in the grass, or the palm tree that grows out of the crack. And I don't know how that happens, but I think it does. I believe that they find each other, they confirm these urgent truths within each other. And I think that also confirms that within human beings, there is a system of I don't know if we want to call it as short and sweet as right and wrong, but I think there is a system of recognizing like what a virtuous, plentiful, promising life is. I think that within a human being, you see, I've never seen any different, but mommy doesn't look happy right now. Or I've never seen any different, but like, I think that's why we learn so much from our parents too. You get these examples when you're younger, and so people in the future are living in these very sort of hyper convenient lifestyles that experience not much resistance or tension to develop what we think a character takes to develop character in the world today. I think there's still going to be reflections of our humanity that are going to have to test us in the future. Like, we might become more internal, more emotionally in the future. It might not be as much about the way that you look and your strength, and it might just be about like, how do you treat other people? Something like that, like
down to the simplest trait, essentially.
Simple things like, oh,
why because in the future also, everything that all the other traits are going to be so easy to access that everybody's going to have it. Everybody's going to look the same. So it will come down to character, right? Everybody's going to have the perfect head of hair, the perfect body, the perfect skin. You get what I'm saying? And the only thing that'll set us apart is our characteristics.
But the thing is let's say you had the ability to program your reactions so that you could just say, hey, I'm going to be a kind person today. And, this is going to allow me to be more tolerable with this setting. Then what?
Then it really does come down to your worldview.
No.
What is it then?
It comes down to only you knowing who you are.
Yeah. Like self-awareness, essentially.
Which is your worldview, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Got it.
It's you. Who are you to you?
Yeah, I got it. Not to other. Yes.
And when you are a follower, you care about who you are to other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You're a liar or you're not lying. Done.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh my God. Fuck, dude.
And that's an artist.
Yeah.
Versus, between the art. That's why I say everybody has these abilities. Yeah. Like, that's why the hero's journey matters and is so popular, because within every follower, there's a leader.
Yeah.
And within every leader, there's a follower. There's stakes. It's about courage. It's about the strength to get there and maintain it and reattain it again and again every day. But that's why it comes down to ethics more than anything, because it's not always about like being a hero, being a leader. Sometimes just an ethical thing. It's not about constantly holding up all this weight. Sometimes, it's not always about this crazy journey where I got to hold this weight. Sometimes it's about how do you treat other people? And like, I believe that is more powerful than any of these very physicalized versions of a hero. Because the true hero is always somebody who has the ability to do the right thing. This shit we're talking about is universal, but in relationship to this conversation, it's so like, what, like, that's really what you operate on type shit? It's like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. Is treating other people a certain way a reflection of essentially how you view yourself, would you say?
Yeah, because there's sometimes where you treat people shitty, and that's because you're insecure.
Exactly. And and
I've done it before a whole lot. But sometimes your insecurity doesn't mean that person's better than you, or doesn't mean you're better than that person. It has nothing to do with that. Sometimes it's like somebody confirming a certain thing in reality that you don't like. And I don't know. I mean, sorry, what were you saying?
I forgot. It was just talking about how you view others versus yourself. And I don't know, like people, this is kind of what I was saying, and it's kind of on a tangent on what you're saying, but essentially like, if you don't view yourself, if you're not confident in who you are, that kind of like, that reflects on other people, right? If you're insecure about yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you have negative self-doubt.
Completely. Yeah, it is. And the reason why is because that other person is not going to get the true version of you either.
Yeah.
And that's going to confuse reality as a whole.
Right.
So that's why I say these friendships where you get to confirm each other's truths are so powerful. Those are those little artist collectives.
Yeah.
And when you have a group of friends where this person's over here hitting a vape pen, and it's like, yo, like, I got so drunk last night and did this, and it's like just kind of like like little lies and things like that, and they all think they're cool, and those are you're essentially like, you guys are like lying about your whole reality, and then what happens there is you're creating insecurities in each other because you're all trying to like live up to it, and in the moment that you want to be truthful, you're afraid to do it, because it's like, that's why I'm saying being honest and being truthful and having these relationships and friendships where you can do that is
it's so
the most powerful thing that you can create.
So valuable, bro.
Because it makes you believe in your truth.
Yeah. Totally, bro. Totally.
And like ultimately your truth at its core is everyone's truth.
Yeah.
So when you do that within two people, that's community.
Yeah. Community is everything for a kid, man. Remember how weird it was going to middle school? I don't know if it was going back to middle school. Just that was such a pivotal time in my life. We all have like pivotal times, but that was pivotal because the transition from elementary school to middle school was like being a baby eating a cake to all of a sudden 1 year later and you're just seeing kids getting drunk and having sex and smoking weed. And it was such a shock, a culture shock. And I remember being in that environment thinking, what is going on? Is this what life's supposed to be? Like that influence was so strong, right? And I remember I saw a kid.
To me, it was creepy and scary.
It was scary as shit, dude.
Like very creepy. Like,
yeah,
this is what it means to be a grown up.
Yeah.
I was like, it felt like juvie or something.
It was like juvie. Bro, I remember seeing a kid. He was like morphing from being like a nerdy kid to like trying to like morph into like a bad kid.
Yeah.
Because I could tell he really was like peer pressure and he really wanted to stick like a follower, which a lot of kids are, out of insecurity. And I remember I would see him like, again, he was it was like the first couple of weeks of school. The way he started to dress was different. He wore the really skinny pants and the band t-shirts. His hair started to change. I remember like the way he would talk. He would try to force himself to cuss. He'd be like,
I think we talked about this.
Fuck you say? And he'd have like these long pauses. Dude, what? And he would use like swear words incorrectly. He'd say like, what the shit are you doing? Like
the thing is that's so funny, dude.
I need a better example, but he'd hold on the words and he'd use them improperly.
That is hilarious. I that is just too good. Yeah, I mean, look, so that's his expression coming out sideways. He's, trying to be validated.
Yeah, trying to be validated.
And like, but within that, there's a true thing that he's trying to express. It's just coming out sideways.
Yeah.
Because he wants other people to like him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And then, also to kind of go back to school. So so you said I had my backpack and like, just big backpack. And so I remember I carried that around.
So dope.
And then we had geometry.
Yeah.
Was that 9th grade or 10th grade?
I think it was 10th.
You wanted to already be a director at that time.
Bro, I wanted to be a director since I was a kid. Like,
so listen, I think it was
5 years
9th
old,
grade.
bro.
I think it was 9th grade. It wasn't 10th grade. It was 9th grade.
It was 9th grade?
It was freshman year.
It was Algebra 2 Trig and Geometry, but I don't know which order. Oh, no, it was both.
No,
it was
Geometry came first. Algebra 2 Trig. Then we had Calculus and then AP.
I think it was flipped, but no, you might be right.
No, because I remember at Mr. O, it was just like freshman year.
Yeah, Mr. O. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And
I remember his shape. I don't remember how
his shape. He was shaped like his car. He had an incredible brand identity. I mean, his whole, like, everything worked. It was like it was one of those Monsters Inc. characters, but also very like what was that? God, I mean, yeah. Hilarious. Full Mr. O was totally like Discord mod.
Yeah.
4chan.
Yeah, totally.
Probably a little creepy.
For sure, bro. Looking back, for sure.
Right? In the car, what was he driving? PT Cruiser purple?
Yeah, and he barely fit in it.
Purple PT Cruiser. He wouldn't drive with his seatbelt on. He said, don't do this, kids, but I don't drive with my seatbelt because he got in a car crash and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so we met in that class. You told me.
We didn't meet in that class.
Yeah, we did. 100% we met in that class.
No, for the first time?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
No, not for the first time. We reconvened in that class.
Yeah.
We met in middle school, but it was a quick moment where I was like,
we had like a couple moments.
Like a weirdo, because I'm like, oh, this is a fun thing to go to.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So then, then we met in class, and then you said you wanted to do a T-shirt design. I think.
Yeah.
That's what you said, right?
I told you that, yeah.
And then I said you said you needed the help for the graphic?
I think so.
And then, yeah.
No. I needed help for the drawing, and I was going to retrace it in Photoshop or Illustrator. I was learning the pen tool in Photoshop, or I can't remember. And I was like, I didn't know how to draw very well. Like, my drawing was really bad, but I had the idea.
Yeah.
And then you were all about it. And then we did like
a guy holding
a mic. Power of the mic. That was what it was.
It was a guy holding a mic.
Power of the mic. I don't know.
You said it, the power of the mic. That was the T-shirt.
Yeah, I think so.
So we were a part of this generation of kids that were influenced by streetwear just enough to go and do our own brand.
Yeah.
But it was before selling clothes and making your own brands in a way that was in the streets.
Yeah.
Because everything that was a brand was in PacSun and Tingley's. So for us to say that we're going to go do this on our own and make these shirts was, I think, probably five years ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was. I think it was about 5 years. And it was before it was accessible.
Before it was accessible, there wasn't program. It was like, how did you even get that thing printed?
I had to find it. Bro, I was like 13, 12, calling around for silk screen printers.
Can I get a sample? What's your minimum? Yeah, what's your order quantity?
It's like one. How many are you trying to make?
Well, you need more than that, Mom, Dad.
Bro, the first batch of T-shirts we made.
Yeah.
That brand, I have so many extras because I had to get the minimum. Remember the Notice ones?
Oh yeah.
So I had like hella extra maroon, turquoise, white, black, every color. So many extras.
It's so interesting that we were attracted to that as a business model.
Yeah.
And then like saying, okay, we're going to go and sell
shirts.
T-shirts and
hustling shirts.
And then it was before Facebook branding and stuff like that, but we had a little Facebook account.
Yeah. Oh, we were so early on everything, man. We were so early.
And we had the brand, and then some DJ reached out to us.
Oh my God. What's this fucker's name? His name is Franco something.
This DJ reached out to us from Spain
and
was like, hey, I want one of your guys' shirts. We love this.
Yeah.
We're like, no way, we're international.
Because he was like opening for Kid Cudi or some shit. I don't know. It was bullshit.
And then we sent this T-shirt that was a dinosaur on it.
Yeah.
That he loves. And 3 months later, we're getting messages from Spain saying, where can we get the shirt? And
yeah, I vaguely remember this.
That we were getting messages from Spain of people saying, I just saw your shirt here. Where can I buy it? And we're like, we haven't sent any more to Spain.
That's insane, dude.
And the guy took the design and ripped it and did it in Spain for his DJ career.
Yeah. I remember that. I was so mad about that.
We're like, it's all over.
I think he like used the same name too. I don't even think he like changed the name. Right? I can't remember.
But that was in what? 10th grade?
Yeah, that's 10th grade.
And then...
What a weirdo. That's so weird.
Total weirdo. Weird things. Whatever. That's the internet. And then, you introduced me to a lot of music stuff. You introduced me to like contemporary culture. You introduced me to culture.
Yeah, I was big on that.
I didn't know about culture before Well,
you did skateboarding and like, you had...
Yeah, but that was like, it wasn't pop culture. Skateboarding was...
It was counterculture. It's kind of a counterculture.
It is. Because you didn't know about it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
You didn't know about the skaters and this, but like, I feel like all the kids knew about what was going on in music. But like, look, I'm saying eventually it got there, right? Like eventually everybody knew about the artist that you were listening to.
Yeah.
Popular, maybe they, it's like, but not everybody eventually knew about these skateboarders. So anyways, the skateboarding world was as much of a gold rush and how crazy it was at that era with all the skate brands and shit. I didn't know about Kanye West and Kid Cudi. You kind of turned me on to that.
Yeah, that was my shit. But it's cool. We introduced each other to like different worlds and different, I don't know, interests.
Yeah.
That shit was tight. I want to steer the conversation to brand building a little bit just because obviously, we see your collabs. I got the shoes on, the Vans. We've seen the Casamigos bottle. We've seen the NARS. We've seen like all these things. But my main struggle for me is, I'll tell you for me as a director, and we've had this conversation before. I struggle to separate like myself as an artist versus what I'm creating for brands. And sometimes I get so caught up in the brand work, what I'm doing for an artist for the music video, or when I'm working with a brand for a project, and sometimes I have a hard it puts me in like this depressive state where I can't detach myself. And sometimes I'm able to find projects where I can infuse some of myself in the work, but not always, you know, especially when it's really commercialized and when there's a marketing incentive behind it or like a, you know, a direct goal with that project. So what I'm wondering for you is how are you able to separate your time for what you need to do for Connor as an artist versus Connor and Cool for like the brands? You get what I'm saying? How do you split the time and how do you split the energy and are able to do both, you know?
Yeah. I think I recognize that I need to do both, first off, because I'm not doing one or the other for any other reason than I genuinely love to do it.
Yeah.
So making time for it is a part of making time for it is knowing where I need to position my intention. And when I'm working on a design project, I know that I'm utilizing the experiences that I've been through and developing things creatively as an artist, as a designer, a culmination of all of it in light of finding a solution for somebody else. Whereas when I'm making my art, I'm in a stasis of not considering other people because that's my own time to see myself. And when if I'm making my art and I'm trying to consider what other people are going to think, or, you know, how is this going to please X demographic, or I need to fulfill, you know, a certain market response, I'm like just designing at that point. So for me, I it's a feeling and it's simply a courage to be when I'm making my art. I would say for me, it doesn't need to be as stressful as a courage, but when I'm making my art, it's certainly a state of being where I'm just not considering how to please other people. And I don't even know if that's the way to say that. Scratch that. As a designer, I'm really interested in just finding solutions for other people. So, you know, I know that there's a balance between both of those when you're doing a collaboration. You know, you want to be able to include your own story, but you still want to fulfill a commercial
aspect to it, right?
Yeah. So in these commercial aspects, there's goals to sell and make it make sense for a certain demo. And the way that I often do that is I attach to the history of the company.
Yeah, you're big on
that. Or I get really involved in like, what does this company mean? What are their laurels? Like, there has to be some root of something that's making this company desirable to people. So I like to get into that. But typically I only collaborate with a company that had emotionally influenced me before I had the opportunity to do the collaboration. Like, it needs to have been a part of my life.
Yeah. That makes sense with Vans then.
Yeah.
That's like a big one.
Or the industry that it lies in has to have been a part of my life. But or the opportunity just has to be like interesting enough that I know it's going to yield a new experience for me I need to have.
I see.
But like, yeah, I grew up wearing Vans, so I wanted to involve myself in, you know, the history of Southern California, the history of skateboarding, you know, kind of like, I almost saw it as a version of me giving back to what inspired me.
Part of something you said that was interesting was you're always trying to solve a problem for the brand.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with the brand, they're not thinking that there is a problem. They're just thinking, how do we market this to the masses? How do you identify that problem then? If they're coming to you and they're just saying, we're coming out with a new makeup collection, we're coming out with a new shoe, we're coming out with a new drink. Where do you find that problem, you know?
I just think it's a matter of fulfilling an expectation. I call it a problem. Of course, sometimes there's fires to put out.
Yeah.
That's a serious problem. But it's fulfilling an expectation or meeting a goal. And when you have a virtue of saying, I want to release this new product. That's a new goal. So how is that piece going to fit into the puzzle?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just jam it in. You have to find space for it.
Yeah.
So this is a challenge. And when Nike releases a new product or if Casamigos releases a new spirit within a tequila company and they need to differentiate it, they can't just jam that product in and say accept it. It has to flow within the identity of their brand.
Right.
It has to still retain the DNA that people fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm not.
No, you're good.
It has to retain the DNA that people fell in love with while also serving its purpose in extending the brand.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What about the brands that are not cool that become cool, like New Balance, Fila, like the ones that were never really seen as sexy DNA, but now all of a sudden they are?
Well, sometimes the world catches up and, there are legacy names to fulfill that collective desire or need that meets the trend. And history has, a great way of illustrating anything in a more interesting light.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at like crazy serial killers from the past that gained more attention and traction because people weren't there for when it actually happened. So they just romanticize that individual's myth and can just, like people don't know what Fila was in the 90s. I'm not saying Fila's coming back, but people don't know whatever Adidas was necessarily in the 90s if you're a 15-year-old kid today, but you're like, oh, dope. Like this is
true.
So, it's like, to me, that's luck. Like that's the brand being able to make a resurgence without, work, without if a distressed brand makes a resurgence just because the world, I guess, wanted that again.
You don't think there's any strategy behind that?
I think that most of the time there's strategy, but sometimes there isn't strategy.
And you're saying a lot of times it does involve, you're saying a lot of times it does involve a level of luck, regardless.
Yeah. I think luck is a lazy word, and, excuse me for using it. It's just like my if I were to take time with how to describe that, it's like the time is right. The time has met up to have people want to express themselves through the promise that brand had made, or even the way that it looks is representing a certain emotion. And I think brands take that drafting off of time. They take it for granted. And they start to make a bunch of money in the modern world, and they like forget their core. And,
always.
And then
so
it's like
often, bro.
Fast track way to become a distressed brand is to lose sight of your core.
Of course.
That's why like Hermes is such a strong brand because, they never lost sight of their core. Even in the 1930s, they addressed their logo mark as horse and carriage, which was attributed to the very first thing that got them into business, which was horse saddles.
Yeah.
But in the 1930s, applying a logo mark with a horse and carriage, considering there were already like legitimate cars in the streets at that time, would be like, I don't know, if Elon Musk started with SpaceX and needed a logo, and let's just say his story started, or SpaceX story started with bicycles.
I see. Yeah.
With and he put the bicycle as a SpaceX logo. It's like that would be a cool story if that was real.
Yeah.
And I think Hermes was willing to stay true to that. And when you have a company like Vans that's willing to stay true to their core in light of all this opportunity to make money, like, greed is a primary deteriorator of one's authenticity.
Yeah, totally, bro.
One's character.
Totally.
So brands are just like human beings,
Yeah.
They have characters, they have personalities, they have things that they're promising. And the better people are the ones that you can trust continually. And time is such a teller of that. Is the product that they're offering even, is it worth it? How are they changing? Yeah.
Like,
to me, brands are these just amazing mechanisms to tell stories and create immersive experiences.
Totally. Yeah, like you made a good point. You said brands are like humans, and I think they do take their own shapes and personas, and just like a human, a brand could sell out, and that's a terrible thing, but it happens, bro. It happens.
Yeah. I think about it quite often. All of the brands that we used to wear when we were younger, and where are they today? But anyways, what I love about our relationship to being observant is that you can have great conversation. I mean, the art of conversation allows you to really, as a person, the way that you connect with people is through often conversations. So the more experiences that you've subjected yourself to, you can really talk through a lot. And, when you go through similar experiences, or you and I were raised in the same town or something like that, that naturally brings people closer together.
For sure.
Because like they experience this time together.
Yeah.
Like, there's such a limited thing.
Yeah.
So that's why distressed brands are, or that's why some brands catch heat is because they represent a certain time.
Yeah.
Totally. And when that brand is aware that they represent a certain period of time or a certain period of emotion within a time, like they can knock it out the park, and they can evolve that expression in light of how the world is changing, and it becomes beautiful. I always think about how things look so much better, like clothes, when they've just been worn in or left out in the sun, or when somebody's hair isn't just so perfect. And there's and I think time does that to a brand. Like, I think time gives it a certain patina, and that becomes even, it makes it even more beautiful. So, yeah.
Well said, bro. Yeah, I'm with you.
I think about this shit all the time, man.
I love it, dude. I love it. I love it. I love your perspective. It always kind of, sometimes it, go ahead. You confirm my thoughts, like you validate my thoughts, but then sometimes you open up my eyes to an additional layer of thoughts. You're like, you keep peeling back the onion. It's good.
Yeah, and I have, my life is so much art and design, and I think when I'm communicating with other people, it's very difficult for me to be like an artist. Like, I'm talking to you, I'm like thinking about how to communicate it to you.
Yeah.
How do I say this in the most efficient way? Like, if I was being an artist, I might just be here whistling this fucking conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what did I just say there? Like, I was just
yeah.
So when I really think about it,
that was Playboy Cardi shit.
Huh?
That was like Playboy Cardi shit.
He would do that?
He would do some shit.
Yeah, exactly. He's, fuck. That's some rock star shit. Yeah, like, imagine that just going through.
That's kind of like Jim Carrey shit. Like, not whistling, but
Jim Carrey was, I think, both an incredible artist and a designer, because he was aware of like these stories that people would appreciate.
Yeah, he was.
He was aware of things people would appreciate, and
you're similar to him, I feel like, in some ways.
I was kind of raised watching his films, and I think that like his impression on anyone in my generation, if they were like open enough, was like, this guy's a freaking jester.
Yeah.
He's like, don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
But also, you can go through ups and downs and be optimistic.
True.
And, you can also be a man.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a little boy.
Yeah.
To be playful and experience life. So, like, within all of that, I think in part of that, these some things on my character. My dad has a lot of that playfulness and funny shit too.
Yeah. That's awesome, bro. I can see it in your dad. He's definitely like, you guys share a lot of similar personality traits in that sense. Continuing to steer the conversation, I want to talk a little bit about our work in this space. And like me, I'm an anxious person. My outlet for anxiety is like tics. Like I have Tourette's. I have issues with just anxiety, stress, things like that.
I didn't know you had Tourette's.
I have like tics, like mild Tourette's. You knew this as a kid.
I knew you had tics.
Tics is Tourette's.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's the same thing. But it's like a little bit less severe.
Yeah.
But it's Tourette's.
I could see the relationship.
Anyways, it's a motor function thing, right? Anyways, I have an issue with that. And I have my own.
I think I have Tourette's too.
I think you might.
Seriously.
I think you might do. But we express it in different ways. But anyways, I have an issue with stress a lot. I don't know. I have my ways of coping with it. And I'm actually making some solo episodes on dealing with, how I deal with it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering for you, where does your stress come from? And then how do you cope with it yourself? Especially because, dude, our fields are so unpredictable, bro. There's so many ups and downs. We're on a roller coaster. Always like this. Our highs are high as fuck. And our lows are just like destroyed in the ground.
I know.
And I want to hear just like on some homie level shit. What is like, how do you deal with it? What do you go through?
It's like a cycle too, it's, you can almost feel, I can't say that I know the female experience, but it's almost like when a girl's like getting a period. I'm like, I know some like bad times are coming. Like and I could feel the depression coming in. And then I could also feel like when, like, the thing is like, I know when things are good, and it's crazy. You're right. It is a very up and down thing. But what always grounds me is when I just draw. Like, no matter how low I am, if I just pull on my sketchbook, and I work on a little rendering, I usually pick like a side profile of a face and a nose, and draw a weird, funky, either beautiful woman or homeless figure or something, and I just I get into it. I'm reminded of just being present, being here now, and I think that like it is very meditative.
Mm-hmm.
It's confirming of my purpose and skills and craft and whatnot, but it's deeper than that. It just, or even more simply than that, it just allows me to like be centered. So these times where I'm down, bro, are these times where I'm like looking outward too much, bro. Like, but not in a way that is, it's I become too, like, I'm not responding to what I know I need to express or what I know I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I should write this concept down or really build it out or something. And it's like the lowest times of your life, you're like the least motivated to do anything too.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, I mean, you just have to like keep going. And I think that those cycles are important. It's sort of like, have you ever been sick and then you're like, I hate my life right now. This sucks.
Of course.
So bad.
Of course, yeah.
And then when you get better, you just appreciate being healthy so much more than you did like 2 weeks before you got sick.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah, you're finding a new level of gratitude.
Yeah, and I think that it really is about, I think that's the optimistic way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
Of course. It's
we are all
it's necessary to have
things.
the lows, you're saying.
Yeah, and it's just very easy to attribute it to jobs landed, finances, wins, all of these things. But it's, I mean, this is like the human experience, bro.
It is.
But I think when you're making things and you're in our field, or I don't know, I would say like husband and wife could attribute it to our relationship is bad right now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, human beings go through waves of being like deeply connected to their purpose and out of connection with their purpose.
Totally.
And if you were entirely connected to your purpose all the time, it wouldn't be special enough for you to want to, maximize the time to like do these things. When you feel good, you want to do things.
For sure.
You want to interact with people. You want to laugh. You want to express yourself. And when you feel bad, you want to curl up and just kind of like, and if you do express yourself, maybe it comes out sideways, you're angry, and then that doesn't help the situation. So it's like these relationships that we need to build with ourselves are really important. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I felt like I was almost like my best friend. Like, I honestly felt like my best friend was like me, like, and I had my relationship with like God.
Okay.
Like, that was my best friend.
Mm.
And I would just enjoy talking to God, hanging out.
Okay.
I don't know if you could call it like praying, or it was just like I would talk to God like it was my friend. Like, God was my friend. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? And I just was able to ground into this place where I was just like being present in the moment. And I know that sounds like a disconnection from reality, but it was sort of just like, I don't know. I think God for me was when I was present, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just super, like, technically when you're present, you're as close to the future as you're possibly going to be.
Yeah, you're right.
Mind, your body, your spirit, everything's right here, right now.
Yeah.
And then when you're like trying to get somebody's attention, you're caught, like when you're caught up on the past and you can't, you're not where you need to be, and where you need to be is here right now.
That's a great quote, actually.
I mean, Ram Dass said it, but I'm just kind of like mixing it in.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's so true though. Where you need to be is literally here right now. We're always thinking we need to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
I need to be here. I need to be doing this.
But isn't that feeling that what you talk about? You're like stressed out, and it's like a depression, and it's like
always because I'm not present.
I know, bro. That's what I'm saying is I'm breaking all these things down to very simple things.
You are.
I'm not trying to be on this place where it's like, yeah, bro, it's just a vibe. Like, you just feel it.
You're right. No, you're
right. No. Like
the reason I'm stressed is because I'm not present. That's it. The reason I'm anxious, I'm not present. The reason
just paint some red. like I really think that these things are far more ethical, and it's easy to gatekeep them by making them feel like they're just these magical things that people are gifted with that they do, and you can't do it because you're not a celebrity. Like, fuck that, dude.
Yeah.
You feel me?
For sure.
Like, it's or you're not an artist, or you're not special enough. Like, no, what's so special is to just be present and have a relationship with yourself, and don't be afraid to endorse your own curiosities. But like, make sure that they're not in light of make sure that they're not subjugating somebody to something dangerous, or hurting somebody.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all about love and connection, and we can fulfill growth within each other without being dangerous and shit.
Yeah, totally.
I think there's times for you to put yourself at risk, or maybe endanger yourself to get a certain experience out of life. But I think that is like for you to decide, and up to your own discretion. And it's something for you to be, you got to walk gently with that shit, especially being like an artist and an observer. You want to push it sometimes and see the dark side of life and see weird things, and great. But that doesn't mean that becomes your entire identity. I talk about identity a lot, man.
I know.
It's a dangerous thing. And that is a subtly radical thing to say in the world today, considering on the periphery of that comment is not giving permission to people who just want to be who they want to be. Great, be that way. But I don't personally, for my own constitution, see it healthy for me to assume a singular identity and then live within that. That doesn't seem like abundant growth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That seems like a commodification of my life.
Yeah, it is.
But like commodifying it in a way where I fit into other people's boxes easier, or like I don't know. I'm compromising on my own growth so that I can be this brand for myself and make money. That's why I think brands are great, because they serve this expression. They serve the human need for us to arrest time. And you can do that within your own individual works of art, but within a brand, you can turn a moment in time into a legacy that people can constantly tap into.
Yeah, for sure.
And create a promise that can be guided by a community, so I'm mind you, like I wasn't expecting to get like so like deep with you about all of these intricacies of how I think about these things.
No, it's
but
beautiful, man.
I just do, like, and I love it so much. And I just never, I want to breed people who believe in themselves, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, bro.
In my friendships.
Yeah. It's good to just even have these,
relationships.
it's good to have these reminders too,
Yeah.
I forget about the simplest, the fact that you're breaking everything down into simple terms is it's so good it's nice to hear, because we just forget it and we overcomplicate things, and we just got to remember life is about simple principles,
And there's universal common denominators as to why we are all doing certain things.
Exactly. And you're breaking it down to that denominator. So
yeah, I
awesome.
just think that it's easy to gatekeep something by living behind a term. Oh, he's an artist.
Right.
Or, like, how'd you become successful? Oh, I just got lucky.
Yeah. Right.
Or, like, I don't know. I just think that a lot of people gatekeep certain shit. Oh, yeah, like, I'm just talented or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, you're observant of the things that you enjoy, or you are an appreciator of the life that you have, and you want to express that.
Yeah. I want to actually, speaking of gatekeeping, obviously the show is not about gatekeeping at all. It's the exact opposite. I'm trying to, talk about these industries and educate people who might want to kind of break in. And you have this really colorful career in painting, illustration, all those things. And I'm wondering, for like a young artist, right, who might love your work, who might have seen your work, who's trying to be on a similar path to you, what would you tell them if they wanted to find art collectors who would commission their work, or find people, or to build a career, I guess I would say? Like, what do you think is like the number one piece of advice you would give to them?
Build the foundation properly, like, find stories that you believe in and, enjoy them, read them, live within them.
How do people find you? You know what I mean?
What was that?
How do people find you? If you find the stories you like and you start creating and you start expressing yourself, how do you get, eyeballs from people?
What's the reason to be found? Like,
do you think actually,
so if you have something that you have to say, you have to find what you want to say.
Do you want your art to be, I'm assuming that you want your art to be, you have something to say, but you want people to hear you out, right?
Well, for me, it comes down to wanting to participate in art history, because I was inspired by people who came before me, and surely people will be inspired by what comes after myself.
Correct.
And there is a cadence of, the greatest gift that an artist could give is the gift of inspiration to another artist. So for me, like, I'm interested in participating in history.
Yeah.
So, one of the most valuable ways to do that, I think, is to find something that you believe in the time that you're alive in, so that it can express itself in your work. And it's all about that sort of these relevant, resonant themes of the time, in combination with, some things that were personal in your life that have happened to you. And an awareness of of art history as well. So like these are the modalities for like me when I'm making work, and I feel like we can make work at any tier that we want to.
Okay.
But you don't have to participate in art history. You don't have to try and do that. You can express yourself symbolically by just letting this be your hobby, similar to how I might like to play golf or go running on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to make art, you're going to say that, like, I'm going to make actual works that I'm going to put into the marketplace at one point, into the lexicon. I want to, not marketplace, scratch that. I want to participate at putting works into the lexicon publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm under the belief that you should have something to say. Otherwise, you are just making garbage.
Got it.
Unless you're doing it like as this is just like a hobby. I'm not trying to put this out because when you're putting something out in there in the world, what you're saying is that you're aware that this is going to influence somebody else. So if you didn't make what you made honestly, then why are you interested in influencing somebody else in a dishonest way?
I see.
And that's really important to me because I see a lot of people wanting to get into art, but I wonder what their reason is. And you can always see it you can always tell when someone needs to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they just are doing it for like a vibe.
Right. Or attention or notoriety.
Or we had the conversation. I mean, but I support everybody has a journey, right? I think a lot of my early work was made in replicating other people's work and trying to understand how they made it to achieve the same effect that, had given me an emotion that I saw in their work. Wow, I'm so influenced. I want to do this too.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I think if you want to do this, you need to establish your foundation by understanding what it is you want to say and how do you want to say that and what does each thing mean? Be meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
Research art history so you know that you're not walking over somebody else's footprints that have already been made.
Mm-hmm.
Someone already painted in oil in the field for this and this. Now you can apply a new intention to it to recontextualize its meaning in the modern time.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is about, I think, storytelling and myth and symbology.
I have a question for you. And this might be a stupid question, but do you think that it's more important for you? You mentioned going down our history. Is it more important for you to inspire one?
I want to participate in art history.
Say that again?
I just want to participate in art history.
You want to participate? But
yeah, like I want to be a part of the language of art as humanity. Humanity is defined in history, art history right. of dominating countries. Like, I want to be a part of art history.
Is your goal so my question is your goal of being a part of art history to influence someone to then also become a part of art history, or is your goal to become part of art history and be celebrated by millions of people? You get what I'm saying? Like, I know that might be a stupid question, but because the greatest artists are celebrated by everyone. Picasso is celebrated by everyone. Van Gogh is celebrated by everyone. They've also influenced people, but at the heart of it, like, they are known by every single person. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can't get away from that understanding of that being true to yourself and, making an incredible discovery often leads to attention.
I guess it does, yeah.
And I guess these people that got a lot of attention made very incredible discoveries that often happen to be true to themselves on behalf of the time and place that they were alive in.
That's true.
So
and some of them even after they died.
Some of them after they died. Well, it was recognized after they died. That wow, this was actually a part of that period. Yeah. And only at their passing was there, only in their absence was their presence seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
So I think when I'm making something, my interest in being celebrated for it isn't I think that there's a human bias to always want to be appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
but my need to be celebrated for it is it never matches up ever to the strength of actually just making the work and feeling satisfied.
Yeah, that's why it was a
that
dumb
I made
question.
that,
Yeah.
that I was able to make this and participate in this journey of seeing this expression materialized and go through all the ups and downs and the dances of failure to get this thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
And resonate with this core emotion that I had set out with. Like, wow, it's jiving with the intention. There it is.
Yeah.
Boom. Whether it's acid washing a pair of jeans in your backyard and you're like, I want to see what this is. And then stenciling, a thing on it. Like that's why for me, I think learning the craft is amazing because it gives you such optionality in range. But at its core, the true range is the range of emotions that you're willing to be vulnerable with, and those can come to the surface in many different ways.
Yeah.
But I do think the same way that I have like a voice or a way that I express myself naturally, like you have a style.
Mm-hmm.
You have a style, you have a way you do things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you find as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is so interesting to me, by the way. Like I'm so deeply interested in how emotions shape somebody's style, like
It's true.
and the way that they experience the world, how that shapes them.
Mm-hmm.
The choice of dress, the choice of, and then also it kind of reminds me of archetype. Like some people are just born in a certain way and they have a style.
Mm-hmm.
In incredible, you think about Carl Jung and these psychoanalysts that have kind of found ways to define these things that were on these psychoanalysts. They found a way to describe what a lot of people were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful to be able to see life in a way where you are trying to kind of like make sense of it, but also still kind of loose enough to freely associate and look at things in an abstract way and see it anew. So, I reference history a lot. I think about what came before me, but I'm also willing to just completely remix it.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, man. I got one more thing for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You know what time it is.
The cards. I like the logo.
Thank you. I actually I redid it, but you like the logo?
Yeah, it's cool. It reads.
So, you ready for this shit? I'm gonna give you this deck of cards.
It's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm gonna hand you this deck of cards, okay?
Okay.
It's a fun thing, man. We do it with every guest. There's 50 cards in here. You're gonna pick a card. You can shuffle it. You can pick the top one. It doesn't matter. But I want you to pick a card. A lot of these are simple questions. Some of them are intuitive. Some of them are deep. But at the end of the day, I just want you to pick one and answer it however you want. Okay? Read the question and then answer it.
So I can pick any card.
Pick any card. Anything, bro. I made those 50 questions.
Congratulations. I love this idea.
Thank you.
I want to see more of this. Okay. Okay.
My guy literally laughed.
I'm going to put it back. Okay. I got the card. Do you want me to give it to you?
You could just hold it and read it. You read it.
What is one thing you're passionate about outside of your
What?
It's like, what is one thing you're passionate about outside of your work?
Because your work is your passion.
Just like it's like the most ridiculous question for me. It's like so.
Do you want to choose another one?
No, I love it.
Damn it! I wish it got.
No. It's funny.
It is funny. Here, hold the mic closer. I need to hear this answer.
I like motorcycles. I like motorcycle riding, but I'm too afraid to do it on the streets. It's more of, I love the machine. I love vintage Honda. I love late 70s, early 80s Honda motorcycles. And I also love, knuckleheads and panheads and Harleys and whatnot, but I just don't feel comfortable with riding on the road. But I love, there's a certain freedom in gypsy, and it's like this ultimate tool for you to go anywhere. And just within a motorcycle, it evokes that same fun state of play and but the rigor of being an adult, and I don't know, kind of maximizes your endurance as a human being. You're like, I want to go there, but let's do it on a motorcycle. And it's, yeah, something big apart with the motorcycles and freedom and American culture. And I like the engine. I like the smell of gasoline. It's just cool. Like, I love motorcycles.
It seems like motorcycles still invoke all those artistic senses, like you just said, the shape, the smell.
Being present. You can't think about anything else, you know,
Yeah.
when you're on. So it brings people together. You go riding together. You can endure the weather. There's a whole culture to it.
Hell yeah, dude.
In the outfits and the leather jackets, and yeah, I'm actually passionate about a lot of things outside of my work, but often it all comes back to like analyzing it, for why I appreciate it, and I think that is my work. My work is just like appreciating the world around me.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Amazing answer. Well, look, dude. Appreciate you coming, bro.
Yeah, dude. I appreciate you too, man.
Appreciate you being here.
I'm passionate about like my friendships, dude. The relationships. Like I love this. I love that we get to have conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one,
Cool, man. I love that concept.
thank you. It's I'm passionate about learning. That's one thing I've realized the past couple of years is like I've gotten into so many things outside of film. I mean, people just see me on Instagram or whatever, clients, they're like, oh, he's just a director, he just does these projects, these videos, whatever. But I've gotten so into health, just things like herbal medicine and different teas, and outside of that, even just like more about spirituality, things like that are just totally unrelated to filmmaking. But I just feel like conversations have allowed me to grow, and that's why I'm doing this show, because it's a cool way to learn about different, you know, perspectives and things of the world that you never would imagine learning, you know. And
conversation,
bro, someone like you've been like one of my closest friends since we were kids, and I'm still learning from you. It's awesome, you know. It's like, that's unbelievable, you know.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Thank you for considering me for the conversation. It's cool that we've got to have a friendship for so long, and that we still respect each other enough to value each other's opinions and ideas. Like,
yeah, dude.
Usually you've heard enough from someone after. You're just
dude.
like, all right, dude. You know.
Yeah.
But that's special, and yeah, and thank you. Like I said, I love this so much. This is cool, and you know, I think like it represents your growth as well.
Thank you, bro. Hell yeah, I appreciate that. I'm gonna wrap it up here. We do a little formal outro. Thanks for watching, y'all. Thanks for being here. Y'all know where to find us. Trying to make this thing big, Connor. We're trying to make it huge. So, but also more importantly, we're trying to, you know, educate, inform, and inspire people. So,
oh yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, this is the way to do it. This is a way. That's what I'm saying, is just to kind of go back one more time before you're out. This is the semantic changing. Now, instead of needing to know someone in person, you can listen to a podcast and it can confirm all of those things.
Yeah.
Within you.
Yeah.
And that's how the world's going to move faster. You know?
Yeah.
But you just got to be a leader and recognize it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Adios.
Thanks, Connor, for being here. Thanks, y'all, for watching.
Thanks, Connor.
Hey, can you help me give a big round of applause to ourselves?
That's a good way to end that. Peace.
Peace.